No.
I mean, can Magnus, this is the issue, will Magnus lose his 2007 record of being undefeated in tiebreaks?
I'm saying no.
No,
I mean,
I'm saying no
despite
as well.
the hiccups, despite all the challenges, I mean, he showed, the class of a world champion, winning on demand in that final game. I always sit back and applaud such an effort. And there you see the handshake as the play is underway.
And he's chosen D4, so he's learned.
And Bishop F4, do you believe? A London?
Yes.
A London once again.
Leading with the London. And as Magnus undoubtedly expected, Kingside Fianchetto by,
of course,
MVL.
I think MVL almost exclusively plays the Grunfeld, so...
Yes. D7, D6. The modest Bishop E2. Now, why can't Black play Knight H5 and hunt down this bishop? Christian, is that...
Well, in he can.
Yes, he can.
But he's always going to go Bishop H4, and after
Provoke G5.
After G5, perhaps I can even play Knight D2.
That's a good point.
This is the issue, right? You go Knight D2 and...
It's not over yet.
It's
Knight
not over.
D2, Knight F4 to try to mangle your structure. E takes F4, G5 takes H4. Maxine is actually thinking of the move. And, okay, I was about to say, I didn't like the retreat Knight F6. So now we have a totally mangled pawn structure, but Black has compensation in the 2Bs.
Absolutely. Black has a lot of compensation. You're always going to have H3 as an option to put that...
Right. As an irritating...
irritating pawn on H3 in case it gets attacked.
And by the way, one of the things I really like about this position, I mean, this has nothing to do with computer homework, preparation, or whatever. This is just two great chess grandmasters sitting at the board and trying to outplay one another.
And once again, we are seeing Magnus being very happy with the complicated pawn structures. Very complex pawn structures, unbalanced.
Very unbalanced. It's interesting. I'd like to see where he puts his B1 knight.
To C4.
To C4, yeah. But
I was going to say D5, but that would surprise everybody. In the center.
In the center.
In the center. That's what he's going to do with his B1 knight. But this pawn on H4 and H3 always raises the issue. Where does Black put his king? And it's not clear that it will be that much safer on the queen side. I suspect we're going to see that Black king sitting in the middle for quite some time.
I actually think he's going to go on the king side.
Really?
Yeah, I was thinking king
short
side
castle.
too.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, I find that bold. Very, very brave indeed. I don't like.
I gotta say, guys.
Yes, Maurice.
I gotta say that also one thing to really watch is this time situation, because Magnus has been a little bit slow in the faster time pace, right? So you see Vasyl Agrab, he's been really quick. His hands have just been moving at a pace as it's gotten down to blitz. This is in between. This is not quite that full 25-minute rapid, and it's not quite blitz. So it's betwixt and between for Magnus, and I think he's going to have to be really watchful with the clock, and already it looks like he's behind by almost a minute in the game, and the game has really just started.
Right. Yourself and Edward, as we came on the show, you were mentioning that Magnus, in a slower time control of the rapids, had performed fantastically.
That's right, yeah.
Like 3,000, some TPR off the chart. Ridiculous, right?
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Completely ridiculous.
Jovi, I mean, we dream about such a...
He did it phenomenally well in the rapid.
So the slower games, starting the tiebreak with the slower games, certainly Magnus's favor. And MBL, realizing that, would be utterly delighted with a split in these first two games. Your thoughts?
I think when it comes to when it comes to tiebreaking, I think it's very good just to play it by ear, just to kind of take it one step at a time and see what happens as Black, and see okay, then I will know what I have to do as White.
Right. Maurice, you're over in Paris. Have you been able to rustle up some of the opinions of the participants in the tournament and how they consider this, who's the favorite in this tiebreak?
No, unfortunately, they've been hiding out. I think they probably ran out of here as soon as it was all over. But this game, it's interesting from a dark square bishop standpoint. I think that this bishop on g7 is really the difference maker for black. And just as I said it, I feel like the move e5 is going to have to happen at some point in order to exploit this bishop, somehow break it out of jail, this pawn on c3 and the pawn on b2, restricting this bishop. So the game has to open up, and you already see how Vasilij is trying to play this position, opening it up as much as possible, despite the fact that he does have the inferior pawn structure. He's got to make hay with those bishops at the best chance he can.
Yeah, so I
Okay,
just
very
wanted to
good.
point out rook e1, h3, g3, e5 has been played.
Okay.
I think our board were there just hadn't caught up with the players, but yes, h4, h3, just to have that.
Yeah,
do you say
just to open
wedgie
it.
in?
Huh?
Do you say wedgie in England?
Yeah, we use that.
It has a
We use
very
that.
special meaning in America, by the way. But that
It
pawn on
means
h3.
something else.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. The pawn on h3 always kind of, well, that g2 square. You don't want to see a queen running on g2. But this move e5 certainly has a benefit to black, but also to white. That was a double
Yeah,
left pawn, right?
Exactly.
So you're always happy that your structure
Well, also, I'm
is
thinking
improved.
yes, it improves white structure, but also that it weakens the area around white's king.
Yes.
Black's king, I mean.
Yes,
So-
that you forgot that e5.
Which may not be mean anything. But
Well, I
these small
love this
things.
imbalance. I love this imbalance. Both players have their trumps, most certainly, and it's not easy to say who would you prefer in
Yeah,
this
it's
position.
not very easy at all.
The open position, the two
MGL is
bishops.
playing very aggressively, though. Very aggressively.
Yes.
He's got this idea of his bishops is flowing in the game. His rooks are going to come in quickly. You see bishop e6 is going to come, and then the two rooks. And it just looks like he has lots of dynamic chances that Magnus is going to have to contain.
Do you know, earlier when I said,
Yeah.
where does that B1 knight want to go? And
I
you
said
said D5. And I think it's gonna make its way there. I think knight E3 is and then knight D5 coming. I think it's very.
Well, my standard cheapo in such moments is to say, these guys are really good. I mean, so's Magnus. I mean, he's already eyeballing the... But it makes sense because the light squared bishop on f3, the pawn is on c5, which does give both d6 and d5. But d6 may be asking too much, whereas d5, the knight looks really good attacking
Exactly,
the queen.
and I'm also thinking from D5 it can even jump on another journey to F4 and to H5 if it need be.
I like that e7 opportunity. Still, as Marisa was pointing out, bishop e6, the rooks come as quickly as possible to the center of the
D8
board. Queen
was
on,
played.
pardon me?
Rook d8 was played, queen e2, bishop e6, knight, bishop to g4.
Okay, we're just having a little... Okay, there we go. Yeah, bishop g4. I was going to say capturing on b7, and I am a pawn grabber. You know, I would have said that was asking too much
Yeah,
of the
that was
position.
asking, yeah.
But bishop g4 is nice in the sense that if white can just pick off this pawn on h3, well, then he's strategically
Yeah.
won.
I was
Christian,
considering knight d3 instead of this bishop g4.
Knight e3 immediately, yeah.
And I was trying to calculate rook d2 in that position. Queen takes d2, queen f3, and I think after queen e2, black should be okay after queen c6, keeping control over the g2 square. And despite the fact that I'm an exchange down, still I have some annoying threats with that pawn on h3, the wedge pawn on h3, perhaps the rook to e8, bishop to d5, and then sacrifice another exchange and try to create some sort of problems on the long diagonal. But Magnus chose the tame approach of playing bishop g4, trying to exchange the dangerous pieces in black's camp, and he's just going to play a good knight, the knight on c4 coming to e3, against the bad bishop, the bishop on g7, which at the moment doesn't have any active prospects in a potential endgame. I think this is Magnus's long-term plan. We'll see if he can pull it through.
Yes, you'll
Good
be very
points.
proud.
That's why that black pawn on b7 has to get to b4. It has to get to b4.
Definitely.
Somehow he has to make this happen because his bishop otherwise will be dead forever.
And
there
there
it
it
is,
comes.
b5, attacking the knight, and someday putting that pawn on b4 to wake up that bishop. Otherwise, he's just going to have this bad piece. And it looks like he's trying to get his counterplay.
Knight e3 and
Rook
rook d2.
D2.
Speaking of counterplay, when a rook lands on the refreshment stall, I
Yeah.
mean, there's counterplay. Rook d2 on the board. Rook takes b2 is the immediate threat.
So rook
rook
obviously,
e-
queen takes f2 is another.
A threat that must,
Must
be
be
addressed. Yes. Rook e2, rook d8, rook on a1 to e1, and Maurice is right. That b5, b4 to be able to one day play bishop g7, d4. It would be
Right.
magic that that bishop would explode into the game. Notice that because of the pawn on h3, it would be joyful for white to just play rook e1 and knight f5 and enjoy the position. But that pawn on h3 really
It really
in the
is,
throat,
yes.
right?
It is
You know,
definitely
you
is in the
gotta,
way.
you definite annoyance, and the players are catching up with our analysis with e1, and now, well, I really, you can take all the time you like, but b4 is needed. I mean, it just
Yeah.
you have to play it.
I wonder whether white should simply carry on with the plan of maybe it's taking on h3, putting a
You mean
knight
after b4?
after b4. You know, just saying, okay, fine, I'll let you win some material there, but in return, I want that initiative
Okay.
on the king side.
So the analysis, the line might run b4, queen
Yeah.
takes h3, bc3, bc3, queen takes c3. Well, so much for that.
So much for that. We have rook takes e2.
We have rook takes e2 on the board, and now this is.
By the way, guys, the clock, look at the clock situation. Magnus is now ahead on the clock, so he was able to make up that difference, and that's going to be important because they're going to turn into blitz mode now. We call it a rapid, but it's really not a true rapid, if you will. Technically, blitz rapid is anything over 5 minutes. Right now, they're about to get into that 5-minute mode, and we're going to see if MVL can show that scintillating form he did in the blitz to actually catch Magnus.
Yeah. Okay, Christian.
Well,
How do you recapture?
Again, both players are kind of trying to steer the game into their own
Comfort zones.
Comfort zone.
yes,
yeah.
comfort zones, exactly. MVL definitely likes the more dynamic structures, the more dynamic positions. Magnus is trying to tame the position, make use of his better structure, and steer the game into towards an endgame. And whoever is going to be successful in doing that is going to have a huge advantage going into what Maurice called the blitz section of this game.
I do believe Magnus finally made the choice of recapturing with the rook so that he can extract that tooth.
And queen
on h3.
e6 was played.
Yes.
Rook takes
Big
queen
move.
e6.
Queen e6 are kind of nice.
Well, again, structure. I spend my whole life trying to win pawns. I usually do it by first mangling my opponent's structure. In this particular case,
It's been done for you.
yeah, exactly. MVL's done all the hard work. And now Magnus has just played the move king f1. Obviously, the compensation for the structure is on this rook on d8. So he's anticipating an opportunity of playing king e1, rook d2, and then
Yeah.
taking control of the game.
Magnus has to do something really quick. MVL has to do something really quick to compensate for his very, very damaged structure.
Indeed.
He's probably going to try to play for something like h5, h4, try to weaken those pawns on the dark squares, and potentially, if you take h takes g3, f takes g3, at the right moment I have ideas with bishop e5, bishop takes g3, give up my bishop and make use of the h pawn. But he played b4, trying to open on the other side.
Exactly. This
Exactly.
trade immediately, Magnus took advantage of the now open c file by swinging his rook to c2. He wants to play king e2, controlling the business squares along the d file, And then, by the way, once his king does that, then the knight is free to hop around.
Exactly. Then the knight can
Big
really try
shot.
to win the 8.
Big shot in the game, B3. B3 is huge. Just transforming the entire position and getting rid of the queenside pawns, it looks like. That was a big move by Vasiliev. He realized that he was in trouble if he just sat still, and it looks like he's going to liquidate this position down to equality.
That was a great move. I mean, you know, the alertness factor cannot be underestimated. These guys, they have a sixth sense. They understand when such moves, sacrifices are needed. However, having said all of that, there's still a structure issue.
Yes.
Right? Rook E6, wanting to get well, I guess it's a 3 versus 2. I was about to say a 3 versus 1 on the king side. No, not yet. Rook E6. Rook C6. Is it a 2 result game?
It definitely is a
After-
2
You
result
feel
game.
so?
I think so.
You, Jovi?
Yeah.
2 result? White firmly in.
I think white is firmly in control. But yeah, after rook takes b3, what's black?
Rook
planning
takes
for?
rook takes b3. Rook takes b2. Rook a6.
Or maybe knight f5.
Yeah.
Or knight f5. Also going on the offensive to play rook e7.
Right, and I can't get to that h2 pawn, can I?
No.
No, because there's always a knight. Yeah, okay, then
Then you're beginning to
then-
think it's a 2 result
Don't forget
game
the
as
A
well.
pawn.
and there's
Yeah.
there's also one thing as well. Maybe I can give up. Maybe I can play bishop. D4 is the move I wanted. I'm trying to think of the coordinates.
Remembering the squares.
Yes.
3 o'clock a.m. wake up call for us, everybody. So give us some slack. So rook takes e6, rook takes b2. I really like that knight f5 move, taking away the bishop d4 option,
Yeah.
by the way, and nasty evil intentions of rook
maybe
g6.
We can so rook takes. Okay, let's go. Rook takes b2.
Rook takes e6, rook takes b2, knight
yeah,
f5.
rook takes e6, and
Yeah.
then knight f5, and then yeah.
Rook g6 is on tap, knight h6 is on tap, and there we go. Rook
there we
takes
go,
e6,
rook
rook takes
takes
b2, knight f5,
These moves have
bishop
to play.
f8 very, very quickly.
That's a nice move, you know, bishops.
Well, he needed to
C5.
fortify the dynamic potential of his bishop so that he could eyeball f2.
Or if I just
Knight
take the
takes
pawn now.
h6, yes.
He did.
He did.
He did. Knight takes h6 check.
King g7 or
King
king h7? What was
King
played?
g7.
King
quickly.
g7 was played. Okay. So right now,
Okay.
black is threatening to do something like rook b1, rook h1.
Yeah.
Well, there's knight
No, bishop
g4.
C5 is the
There's knight
threat.
G4.
Bishop C5 is the bigger threat.
No,
Bishop.
yeah, I
still
answered
have
both
knight-
with knight
knight
g4.
G4.
I've got it all under control.
And then
over
I
there.
have to start pushing my a pawn.
I think that's the key. Push the a pawn.
Well, that's where your
Go for
only counter
quality.
chances.
Quality over quantity.
Is that it? All right. Well, here we go. How will
That's a big pawn. That's a
Magnus
big
show?
pawn. The knight finds it difficult to fight against that pawn.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the rook will do a good job. The problem is White's king. The White's king is cut
Exactly.
on the first
All of
rank.
White's pieces are going to be less active than Black's.
Right.
I really like what MVL is doing. He's feeling the position. He's feeling the dynamics in the position. He knows which pawns to give up and which pawns to preserve. And right now, I really like his chances.
Of holding.
I don't know with the
I just
a
wanted
pawn.
to,
I don't
I
know.
wanted to
I'm
qualify
thinking.
what you were
I'm
saying there.
thinking.
With
This
the
could
a pawn on the
turn. This
pawn,
could turn into a
it's a 3
slugfest.
results. I feel.
Oh, really? I
Bishop's
still
going to
feel-
end up on B6.
I still
Bishop's
feel
going to
it-
end up on B6. So that bishop's going to be very secure on that square.
I still feel it's a 2-result game, but
Magnus is down to 2 minutes, while Maxim has 3 minutes and a half.
as Jovi, as you've been mentioning, that has been the weakness in this tournament of Magnus's.
In the
The
blitz,
time.
in the
The
blitz,
time
has been
is simply
absolutely critical.
Not enough time. Rook a6, we're all taught, and it's a very important lesson. Rooks belong behind passed pawns,
Exactly.
whether possessing or fighting against them. So
rook
rook
a2.
a6 is crucial to controlling the a pawn. Rook a2 as, and now we would probably well, again, the king is missing.
Maybe give a check first.
Well, what do you think about f5, f4, f5? And then rook a7 check and the march of the f pawn. Again, I like...
Very dangerous.
I prefer white's position. I think it's a two-result game. Rook a2, f4. a4, f5.
Okay,
And I've got some
let's go
mating...
a3. Let's go
a3, rook a7 check.
King h8 only move.
Only move. Knight f6, threatening
Bishop
mate.
g7.
Rook a8. And,
Rook a2 played.
Bishop f8.
and knight d7.
And f4.
And I gotcha. Guess what? Magnus and the March of Freddy. You gotta
Yes.
name your poems.
No, yes, of course.
Personalize them. But very
Hey,
important
but
move.
check
Bishop-
this out. That pawn on h2. If you are not careful, you might lose your pawn on h2. I mean, how do you make progress with just your rook and your pawn? You have to be very careful because it's hard to make real progress. And the pawn's going to be on a3, and the knight's going to have to stay on g4. I don't know if it's going to be enough to
No.
figure. Like, do you see a way to concretely get this to happen?
No,
The
Maurice.
bishop is guarding the f8 square, by the way.
Okay, rook a7 check.
King f8.
King f8, f6, with the idea of knight e5 and knight g6, and I just win.
f6 played.
f6 played, or knight h6 and rook a8 mate, and I just win.
Something
That's
like bishop c3. Doesn't bishop c3 happen at some point to tie your knight down?
bishop c3,
Slowing you
knight
down.
h6. It's not that easy for
Like, even-
black.
Even
Sorry,
in that
Ruby?
situation, if we were to...
Oh,
I don't like that.
Releasing the king.
If,
That
did not
was
look like a good idea.
Now Magnus has a free hand for either knight e5 or knight h6.
Oh, knight e5 is not
Knight
possible.
e5 is not possible.
no, don't play knight e5. Knight a6.
I think he actually
Yeah, I
wanted
think
to
he
go.
went to play knight because of rook e1 check.
Rook e1 check is on the board. King f2. You don't. Or pardon me. King d3 is also. Yes.
The king
was
must
the
sidestep.
preferred choice.
This looks bad. Looks like MVL has not handled this very well, and he might be in some trouble. Wait a minute, they're
Yeah.
repeating moves suddenly.
Whoa. That a2 pawn. Okay, white needs two moves, g5, g4, g5, and then we know it's a two result
Yeah,
game. Oh, it'd be
yeah,
one
yeah,
result
one
game
result
in
game.
that case. But rook check. Okay, white's king can actually
What was
play a
that?
leading role. Oh, it's not check.
It's not
Oh
that
no,
it's
he's
check,
let the
yeah.
G pawn go down the board.
Yeah, well,
He's let
like
the
I
G
said,
pawn go
G4,
down the board. Looks like
G4,
MVL
G5.
blundered.
This looks like a game over to me.
Yeah, tough.
Oh,
G5,
no,
G4,
G4
G5,
is killer.
G6 is
Now,
coming.
that was a big tempo loss. Well, maybe it didn't matter, and we just didn't realize how strong White's attack is. But that's a beautiful coordination for White. F6, knight on h6, a rook behind,
Yeah.
and MVL feeling it. What's the time?
The time in it is...
It doesn't matter what the time
Magnus
is now.
is
He's
1
going to
minute
lose. This is a
15.
terrible position.
What has happened on the queen side? Bishop dropped back to f8. Magnus's king is going into the sweet spot. G6.
I think we'll
This is
see a
pressure.
handshake soon.
Well, if he does win it, this is a lovely game by Magnus. Really impressive stuff.
MVL looked like he was okay, though. Then he suddenly let the king out, and then the pawns rushed.
Exactly.
But he had ways to defend that position.
Yeah,
He
for
did.
sure.
He did. But this looks just
This is
Toast.
a big loss. He
Yeah.
loses this. It's going to be very hard to imagine him coming back.
rook d2. Anything to be said for f7 check? Or maybe that's a little bit too greedy. Rook check. Rook d8. Whoa.
Whoa.
Rook takes, knight check. Whoa.
I know.
Push that pawn. Look at this.
This is...
Extra piece.
Extra piece.
Extra piece for Magnus.
Beautiful
A little bit of a chance for
calculation
him,
by
but
the world
doesn't look
champion.
like it's going to be anything at all.
Beautiful calculation.
Yeah.
Grab the pawn on h3, and this is
And
just
there will be
Right.
no bet.
Even something to be said for knight f7, knight g4, but queen takes h3 is certainly good enough.
With a discovered check can happen at any moment. It looks as though this one is over. Magnus really showed his class in this position. And MVL down a knight and a pawn. This is just toast.
Yes. It's all about time, nerves,
Yeah.
keeping your nerves, especially, and check, and
And
queen
then
g7
queen
and his
G7
heart
and that's it.
handshake. Well,
Oh. Very
Magnus Carlsen showing impeccable form. That was very, very impressive.
Yes.
And MVL was playing as dynamically as possible, but then he slipped up. It was a great knight g4, f4, f5,
Yes, yes.
trotting
Yeah,
that
yes, yeah.
passer up the board.
Yeah.
What to say? Sometimes you just have to tip your hat and say,
I
well done.
felt somehow that MVL played a little bit into Magnus's hands with offering queen e6.
Yeah, queen e6,
Queen e6
wasn't the
This is what
move.
Magnus wants. Magnus wants those strategical advantages and go into an endgame. So of course,
But he does it better than anybody, and that's why we call him world champion. Christian.
true.
I actually think queen e6 was precise because of the fact that the white queen on g4 was attacking the pawn on h3. So queen e6 was actually the only move. And after that, MVL did keep the balance in the position all the way up until this moment. After f6, he played this very, very strange move, rook a1, allowing the king to get back into the game, to go towards the center. Instead of that, he should have played simply a3. Now again, if you go with your knight e5, Yasser, rook a1, and we enter the same position, forcing you to go to e2. By the way, if after rook a1 you go king f2, I have the move bishop c5, and that's
Agreed.
game over,
Yeah.
kaput. So instead of that, after a3, if you go knight h6, I think that's another one of your ideas, Yasser.
Yes.
Rook to
f2.
f2.
Ooh, nasty.
Boom. But this is very, very difficult to find. This type of
Nasty.
nuances are very difficult to find when you have like 1 minute on the clock. And rook a1 just it seems a little bit unnatural just because of the fact you were letting the king escape. And after king takes f2, bishop c5, we regain the rook, but this pawn is just going to run all the way down the board and get a queen. So after a3, the position would have been very, very complicated. White has to start making moves such as rook a4, or just simply look for a perpetual with rook a8, rook a7, rook a8, rook a7. This could have played in MVR's hands if he would have been precise, but again, Magnus is creating these imbalances, and he has supreme confidence that he's just simply at some point going to outplay his opponents, and that's exactly what's happening. The tie breaks are the bread and butter of Magnus, and he hasn't lost one since 2007. You can see why.